Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the final session of our Members' Day for the ISCVE 2021. I'm just going to say a quick hello to my colleagues here. We've got Andy Simmons from NEXO. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Alan. Hi, everybody.
And in the orange and yellow corner, we've got Andy Lewis from Audiologic. Hi, Andy.
Hello there. Hi, Alan. Hello, everybody.
It's great to see you both. Thanks for joining. Before we get started, I'm just going to explain to the members who have just joined us kind of what we're doing and the format. So bear with me, please, guys. Thank you for joining. This is our most subscribed attendance of the day. To talk about the topic of Brexit and implications on our industries. But the format for the day is going to be a mixture of live broadcasts, such as you're seeing now, and VT. And the reason for the VT is to make sure that the content isn't lost in the event of a dropout of bandwidth or an internet crash, who knows. And so that's the reason for the format. Those of you that are attending via Zoom. The presenters are not on Zoom, so we can't see you, which is a little bit weird, and especially for our industry that's so very social. So I'm just going to give you all a wave and say hi and make like I can see you. If you feel like waving back, that's cool. If not, don't worry about it. You'll see that there's a chat window for you to type questions in as we go. And the chat window will be curated for us because we're expecting a flood of questions on this particular topic by Colleen. Andy's shaking his head there. Colleen is going to pick up common themes and things, and she'll type them through to us in our interface so that we can then answer when we go live. And so that's the format of the day. We're being ably assisted by EMCD, who are helping us deliver this content to you today. So a huge big thanks to them who are working really hard behind the scenes. So without further ado, let's move then into our final session, and it gives me great pleasure then to introduce Brexit and the implication for our industries. You may have noticed that's plural because, of course, now the Institute represents both the audio and the AV industry as well. Either of the Andys, would you like to say anything before we move into the VT?
No, I don't think so. I'm happy.
Okay, awesome. All right, so what we're going to do then is I'm going to say for almost the last time my favourite expression of the day, which is roll VT.
My name is Andy Simmons, and I'm the UK and ERA Sales Manager for NEXO, and I've been asked to give you a quick presentation about our experiences of Brexit so far. So firstly, a quick infomercial about who we are. NEXO is headquartered in Play, France, 30 minutes north of Paris, close to Charles de Gaulle Airport. We currently have around 100 direct employees, and we're a wholly owned subsidiary of the Yamaha Corporation of Japan. What do? We design and manufacture loudspeaker systems for precision sound reinforcement. These can be used in theatres, sports arenas, houses of worship, clubs and bars, conference halls and many other venues in similar vein. Our products are distributed across the world utilising a combination of Yamaha subsidiaries such as Yamaha America, independent distributors and crucially 4 direct markets: France, Germany, Italy and the UK and ERA. These were chosen because they're geographically close to our HQ and they're all important markets to us. So keeping direct control is a definite advantage. It's also easy and cheap to move goods and personnel around in these markets, meaning it's a very efficient and profitable way of doing business. So in the UK, pre-Brexit, we made direct sales to UK customers. This meant that customers could speak directly with the factory to check stock and delivery dates, etc. We utilised the services of a credit insurance company, enabling us to give credit to UK customers based on their financial information and to insure ourselves against the risk of doing this. Goods are ordered direct from the factory in pounds sterling and delivered direct to the customer, usually taking a maximum of 3 days. So it was a quick and timely turnaround for deliveries and an easy system to administrate. Service and support was easy and quick. Service items can be returned to NEXO, repaired, replaced and returned back to the customer in a timely fashion. Very efficient. Shipping costs were very reasonable, such that we were able to offer free shipping on larger orders. Our planning for Brexit started in 2019. We held various meetings to try and work out a strategy, but it quickly became apparent that due to the complete lack of information available, this was going to be hard. Government websites had little or no information. They hadn't worked out the deal yet, so there was no information to be had. So we had various meetings with our shipping agents, Schenkers, who, because of their vast experience of shipping goods across the world, could work out various scenarios and actually come up with a vague plan of what might actually happen. They ran some webinars for us, which quite frankly only went on to reinforce what chaos lay ahead. Traffic on the HMRC's 30-year-old chief customs booking software system was about to increase by over 500% overnight. We also tried talking with other manufacturers and our parent company's representatives in Europe to see what they had found out, but it was the same story everywhere. The one piece of advice that the UK Gov website had, which was useful, was seek help from a shipping agent. Ours were great. They had a Brexit team set up in the UK that we could contact and could provide us with information packs for our customers as to how to proceed. But they could only have a one-size-fits-all plan, as they had thousands of customers to deal with and couldn't tailor individual packages, so we had to do a bit of our own customisation. Our production department at NEXO started gathering information on the new standards markings, UKCA and CE UK NI, that all our products would eventually need to have. To date, we don't need to have those on our products today, but it's going to come in force towards the end of this year, I believe. Our shipping agents advised us to use what they termed an end-to-end package, which meant they took over responsibility for picking up the shipment from us and delivering it to the customer, with little or no interaction from anyone else, either us or the customer. This entailed putting together the information package for our customers regarding VAT, getting an EORI number for importing, and power of attorney for our shipping agents, which meant that our shipping agents could act on their behalf with anything to do with HMRC. Our aim, obviously, was to provide the same seamless, timely service to our customers. So, on January the 1st, we took the plunge. The first shipment actually took over 2 weeks to arrive with the customer, which apart from anything else meant we had to increase our credit terms to the customer, which obviously has an ongoing effect on our business. We also had to look at the effect on the whole commercial and financial aspect of doing business with customers in the UK who are no longer under EU law with regards to credit insurance, etc., amongst other things. In fact, this is still an ongoing issue which is being resolved with our credit insurance company. Put simply, this service will get much more expensive for us. New paperwork and customs documents had to be prepared by our sales admin department for the shipping agents, and they had to learn new procedures. Not rocket science, but it's more work for them. We've had to look at how we provide service to our customers, which in the short term makes it more expensive for us, as to return equipment back to the EU is very paperwork heavy. This also has a knock-on effect, causing problems with temporary imports for demonstrations, trade show exhibits and things like that. Some UK shipping agents are charging £50 plus VAT for the extra paperwork they have to complete for importing goods on each shipment. Their standard charges have increased as well, in some cases by around 3 to 5%. But currently, as there was not enough time to implement any rule changes for importing goods, we're in a grace period for 6 months before the real rules kick in potentially. Who knows, but there could be implications for duty charges. When we first started looking into this, One of the categories of our products seemed to attract a duty rate of 2.5%, but this disappeared after January the 1st, but nobody can explain to me why. We also have a potential problem with third country imports. To give you an example, the electronics for our systems are manufactured by a parent company, Yamaha, in their plants in China. These are then shipped and imported into France and warehoused there ready for delivery to our customers. Once this enters the UK, this is classed as a third country import, essentially a Chinese import, and there may be duty implications there in the future, which would obviously have a knock-on effect to our business. But right now, no one can find out what the situation is. My last point is concerning COVID-19 and the effect that this has had on our industry. Devastating it may be, and it will continue for some time, obviously. Hopefully we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, and towards the end of this year, I really hope things will start returning to normal. But right now, I think this has shielded a lot of the potential effects of Brexit as a whole. I hope this isn't the case, and I hope it does improve. That's all for now. I hope you found this useful, and I'll hopefully look forward to meeting many of you in person at future ISCVE events. Goodbye.
Hello, my name's Andy Lewis. I'm the MD at Audiologic Limited. I'm also an affiliate member of the ISCVE, and I sit on the council. Audiologic is a proud supporting member of the Institute. Thank you for tuning in to my take from a distributor's perspective on how Brexit is or might impact our sector. Firstly, a brief introduction to Audiologic and why Brexit actually matters to us at all. Audiologic started life as a distribution company for the AV space, actually born in one of the two owners' kitchens back in 2004. We're a business-to-business distributor, meaning that our customers are installers and integrators. Yes, we do have some engagement with end users from time to time, but they can't buy from us directly. We stick fairly strictly to audio. The clue is in the name after all, although with some of our brands moving into the control and even video space, we are becoming more and more multidisciplinary, at least to a point. We cover most sectors, including hospitality, education, predominantly higher education, as that was our largest sector in the first 10 years or so of our existence, retail, many corporate spaces, which is now our largest sector, houses of worship, live and events, when they come back online of course, hopefully sooner rather than later, government and sports venues, to name just a few. We are apparently a bit of an odd distributor in how we work though, as the brands we represent, and that I'll come on to in a second, are an important part of, but not the entire story in what Audiologic offer. Audiologic has the ability to do everything from the point an installer contacts us to say anything as vague as, I want audio in this area, all the way through to the final commissioning of a system, aside from actually installing the kit, as that's hopefully the part that our customers earn their money from. We can do a site visit, design the system, produce a schematic, and even virtually build the racks, perform a demonstration for the end client if required, produce the commercials, and even present all of this to our customer's customer if the installer isn't comfortable doing so, and finally deliver on what's traditionally expected of a distributor by supplying the kit to be installed by our customer. Following the installation, we can go back and commission the system if the integrator requires that. Customers tend to pick and choose what aspects of that menu they might need from us for any given project, but that's our overall capability in-house. So, to deliver this, from the traditional distribution perspective, we have a big old warehouse with a great team of logistics people, a sales support desk who administer all the quotes and orders, an application support team that is the same size as our business management team, so that we can offer proper national coverage and focused knowledge on the brands that really matter to us and to our customers. So what brands do we represent, and how do we represent them, as not all brand relationships are created equal, of course. We are what you might call a mixed model distributor, in that we have various models of relationship with brands and manufacturers, ranging from an exclusive arrangement where Audiologic is the only representative in territory, to semi-exclusive or unique distribution models where we might have a portion of a brand's portfolio channeled through us, all the way through to purely wholesale distribution where, provided we meet whatever the criteria is that the manufacturer sets out, then virtually any of the in-territory distributors could have access. As you might expect, Brexit had different impacts on different brands depending on their country of origin or where their components originate from. It could be perceived that some brands who are UK based could have some cost and delivery advantages over brands that are imported from Europe on the face of it, but that does depend on a whole load of factors. These are just some of the brands with which we have an exclusive or unique arrangement, and since Brexit, their own unique set of challenges in terms of getting them to market whilst being aware of regulations, tariffs, delivery delays and paperwork. Interestingly, for the first brand on this page, ARX, virtually nothing changed as they're based in Australia. But for the others, well, let's have a look at that briefly now. So the main way that Brexit has impacted our business has actually been in our dealings with the Republic of Ireland, as they are, of course, still in the EU. So although we've traded within that territory historically, this required some changes to processes. However, the fact that the deal was quite so late coming into existence, what preparations we did make had an element of guesswork to them. I attended a workshop on Brexit in the last few weeks of December, and they assured us that there would potentially be about 20% difference in how businesses acted and processes needed to change, depending on whether there was a deal or not. So in the first instance, we thought about creating Audiologic Ireland at one stage, and well, this might be revisited if it's deemed essential, but for now we think we have a pretty balanced solution, at least so far. Instead of investing in an Irish office, therefore, we employed a third-party logistics firm to handle all of our warehousing and dispatch requirements. We hold approximately what we hope to be 3 months stock of expected and run rate business, although we are only a couple of months in there, for which we also had to change our insurance policies to cover, of course. But as I hinted at, forecasting is crucial for this warehouse and facility to work. So as a small aside to any of our customers who might be watching this and who are being asked at the point of quote for project information to throw in our CRM system, forecast and stock accuracy is kind of what makes this facility work. So please do know that these questions are for our customers' benefit. So we've also had to create an imaginary kind of position called the transit warehouse, which allows us to create a commercial invoice for a movement of goods when suppliers send to our Irish warehouse from within the EU, and that just goes on our VAT return. It's almost like we're selling to ourselves but delivering to another warehouse. So mentioning VAT, we apply for an Irish VAT number and now have to do Irish VAT returns every 2 months for when we sell from our Irish warehouse. We do have an Irish accountant now to take care of those returns and the payroll for our business manager who deals with Northern Ireland and Scotland too, at least once the restrictions lift. That was quite interesting. We had been looking for a few months for someone to take on the Scottish and Irish market for us, and someone who lived in the Republic of Ireland actually took the position, so helped us to learn about the necessity for having some financial specialists in territory. We had a revised invoicing layout design to reflect the Irish warehouse, VAT and Incoterms too, and that was all done by our ERP support team, combined with internal training to cover the change in how we would do business in that territory. So previously, when importing into the UK from the EU, then sending out to the Republic of Ireland, there was no need for clearance paperwork, and goods were essentially imported at zero VAT. It was announced on a VAT return owing to it being pretty much a movement of goods, but that was it. Now we pay import VAT from anywhere in the EU, and if you don't have a VAT deferment account, which defers payment of the VAT for up to 45 days, then you would either really have to pay it up front to a shipping agent, or the courier, in our experience, might suggest you use their deferment or postponement account and charge you for the pleasure. A point of note here is the postponement account is anecdotally fairly difficult to access and keep tabs on, and the VAT is postponed for up to 6 months, but it is challenging to see those records, whereas a deferment account works quite differently and you have much easier access to the information. Also, applying for a deferment account is free, so it just means that you have to contact HMRC, which may or may not have its own challenges. So our customers in the Republic of Ireland have a choice now. They can buy from our Irish warehouse and we can invoice in pounds and charge the right amount of VAT, including the right exchange rate, which we monitor on a weekly basis, along with a euro amount on the invoice so that they can declare the right amount of VAT in their returns. Alternatively, if we have the stock in the Harlow office, then they can buy from that warehouse, also get invoiced in pounds at 0 rate VAT, then we would send it with DAP, that's delivered at place Incoterms, so they would be responsible for any duty, clearance charges and import VAT. Incoterms incidentally determines who pays charges for clearance, duty and VAT. They range from DDP, which is delivered, duty paid, everything is taken care of by the sender, all the way through to X Works, which is, as soon as it leaves the sender's door, it's in the purchaser's hands. That's everything, insurance, liability of pretty much any means. We use DAP, delivered at place. It means that the receiver settles any duty, VAT and clearance charges. So having the Irish facility and warehouse avoids any duty, provided our suppliers send straight to that warehouse from within the EU. But one primary impact of importing to and selling within the UK from the EU is the tariffs. Having said this, tariffs are actually fairly low. On average, around 2% depending on the tariff code, with almost 4% being the highest we've seen on goods that we regularly provide. Most tariffs do tie up, so one manufacturer's speakers are in the same tariff code as another manufacturer, although there are some oddities like some DSP are quite interesting as they depend on the definition of that DSP from the manufacturer. Country of origin matters too. So EU manufactured product attracts no duty costs to export for the manufacturer, right? However, products manufactured outside of the EU means that a European brand who has Chinese manufactured product, for instance, pays duty on the way into the EU, and then we as the distributor pay duty on the way back out of the EU again. And that's partially that partially drove our decision for using DAP, delivered at place Incoterms, to avoid actually paying triple duty on a product that we send out back into the EU, back into Ireland. So our own feedback on this amounts to that this has really been operating for a relatively short space of time. So despite initial delivery delays, mainly from increased admin through logistics, our internal team have adapted extremely well. So far, touch wood, despite some initial teething problems with ports and clearance of goods, and one or two manufacturers faring worse than others, it would appear, as far as our customers are concerned, it has largely been normal business, or at least as normal as our storm of current circumstances can allow. We ensured prior to the Brexit deadline that we had stock in Ireland and that all of that was taken care of, and we maintain good levels of stock in the Harlow warehouse. So to date we haven't been impacted too badly. There's no doubt that the late deal had an impact on preparations. This is not a political comment, this is just a fact. And HMRC communication was not terribly helpful, but we did rely on the fallback position of our ERP support and accountancy specialists both in the UK and in Ireland to help us wade through the ever-changing landscape. The tariff code checker was essential for ensuring our commodity codes were correct, and there was, I believe, a last-minute change of heart regarding commodity codes too that might have delayed our preparations whilst we changed those codes for thousands of products, but that didn't happen in the end. I will say this as a disclaimer. These notes have been our experience, and although I'm presenting this to you today, I have a wonderful team of people at Audiologic who individually know their respective parts of this puzzle far better than I do. So we are more than adequately prepared to do hopefully the right things. However, please do get proper advice from import and export specialists and accountants where appropriate to make sure that every last box is ticked. It's still early days right now, and people are still finding their way through the impacts and regulations, and things are changing all the time. So do get current advice from professionals. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for giving us some insight from both of your companies' perspective on what is obviously a very commercial topic. And it's interesting to get the perception from a European manufacturer with very strong links with the UK, and then also from a very homegrown British distributor who's distributing products from all over the world pretty much. I have to say my mind is blown, Andy, with the triple taxation that you just described. I apologise for my ignorance. I had no idea that could even potentially happen. It's absolutely frightening, isn't it? The other thing I thought was really interesting was the idea of the pandemic masking potentially some of the impact that we might be seeing. I didn't know if there's anything more that either of you wanted to add around that idea, because that's something that hadn't even occurred to me.
I think mainly it's obviously our businesses. I'm sure Andy will probably have a different view on it, but certainly from our point of view, the pandemic has affected the level of business that we're doing. And so we're not importing as much equipment, perhaps, into the UK as we normally would. And so I think the effects of Brexit aren't as bad. But obviously, hopefully, when things get better, we'll start seeing a few more. I mean, we're already seeing more and more effects as time goes on. We had a situation, just to give you a quick example, I had a situation. I think last week or the week before, where our French HQ, they have to book trucks for deliveries over here, and they're actually finding it hard to book trucks because none of the trucking companies want to come over here with deliveries larger than 4 pallets, because it's too much trouble for them. And I guess it's not profitable for them to do that, but yeah, it's a crazy situation out there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a fair bit of press coverage about, clothing companies, where you buy a T-shirt for 50p and suddenly you've got like a £60 delivery charge and stuff like that. I've certainly read that, but I honestly, in my heart of hearts, thought some of that was probably a bit sensationalist. Andy, did you want to say something then?
No, I think Andy's absolutely. This is very confusing. You could have picked two people.
Orange, Andy.
I think Andy's absolutely right. I think some of the effects that you almost want to attribute to Brexit actually might be nothing to do with it. So it's all a bit disappointing that they're both happening at the same time, isn't it? Because you can't really identify where the delays or where the blame's not the right word, but you know what I mean. It's potentially a little difficult to see where the blame kind of sits for some of the delays. When the year did tick over, there were some brands did battle with this a bit more than others, and it's difficult just to see where the blame lies.
I think the other thing that you mentioned that I thought was quite horrific, and it was my concern. You would have, I'm sure, the members would have seen in the e-newsletter that we try to address how to assist our membership with Brexit, and all I could do in the end was compile a list of links to various issues in the government thing that all kept saying, watch this space, come back, we'll tell you more, and to find out that there really wasn't that much help for you, even when it came to the past the 11th hour, which is kind of what we'd all feared would happen. And some of that I don't think was necessarily just to do with the lateness of the deal per se, because the deal wasn't that much, I'm getting political now,
No.
but it wasn't that difficult to the one different to the one we rejected.
Couldn't possibly comment.
Right?
Yeah, I mean it's difficult, as you've just identified, to not be political about this. But as a point of fact, the .gov UK websites, where we were all being encouraged to go and find out information from on them, sent you round in circles. And there actually wasn't any information on there. And we, as I said in the presentation, we went to, and indeed Andy made this point at the end of his presentation, we went to an expert and got information from them, because that was the only place. I mean, they didn't know what was going to happen either. So it was an interesting situation.
Well, there was actually a late discussion about free ports that basically would have made our decision to really do all of our work with the Republic of Ireland virtually pointless, Yes. And it was done sometime, I believe, in the third week of December. Well, we've been doing work and trying to investigate this for well over a year. It was it was crazy, and it had cost us a lot of money.
Well, I mean, that is a question that's been raised from the floor by Doug. Is it possible for either of you to kind of estimate a pound sign amount, or even a dollar amount that it's increased the overhead to your businesses?
I could do euros.
Yes, I could do euros. That's fine. We'll work it out.
I would struggle to do that, to be perfectly honest, because it's an ongoing situation, which doesn't seem to be getting any easier at the moment. But to put a figure on it would be very hard for me, anyway.
Yeah, it's well into the tens of thousands of pounds. There's no question about that.
Yeah, so bearing in mind, I mean, these are fairly significant sums we're talking about, aren't they? Are you absorbing those costs, or do you pass them on to your customers?
We've had to absorb them.
Largely. Yes, we are too. There's the odd. I think early on, one of the shipping companies we use tried to charge our customer £50 plus VAT to do the paperwork for HMRC on goods entering the country. And that's basically entering the information onto the chief software system, which cost them £1.70 to do. And they were trying to charge our customer £50 plus VAT. The chief software system's an interesting one, actually, because you actually have a friend who's a wine importer, and he's decided to handle all this himself. And you have to buy a license to operate on the chief system, and then you have to pay £1.70 every time you want to pay the government tax.
Right.
So it costs money to pay them.
Tax on tax on tax. This is crazy, isn't it? Okay. Well, I noticed in the news, I think it was even last week, the Chancellor was talking about having free ports, 10 new free ports by the end of the year, sort of, and it makes me think of, the Middle East scenario. Do either of you have? Obviously, that again, we're getting political about whether we think this is a good idea or not. But do either of you have any comment on whether a free port would be desirable for either of your businesses?
As far as I'm aware, we've had free ports for a while. I don't think it would affect us much. But
I don't understand the intricacies of it all. From what I was hearing about them, it would effectively mean that the UK was almost a transit situation, and so it would bypass the need for duty and all of that kind of thing. So yes, it would make it would basically negate our last 2 years' work.
It would,
which would be downright irritating, but brilliant for our customers.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, no, it would be great if it happened, and if that's if my understanding of it is correct, then yeah, absolutely, it would be fantastic for our customers.
My very basic understanding of a free port, or as we know in other parts of the world, free zones, they are not. They wouldn't be UK tax places. You could land goods there without taxation. You could also have staff based there and not necessarily apply their UK workers' rights, and that's where it starts getting controversial. Because taxation wouldn't necessarily apply to those workers if you chose. The reason the EU had clamped down on free ports, as I understand it, was because they were real, tax havens. But it looks like we are going beyond that. So perhaps we are looking at a very hard Brexit approach from the Chancellor at this point to start trying to ease up the situation that's occurred. Well, I appreciate having this discussion with you both. We have another question. Do we have any advice for contractors needing to deliver integrated systems? Oh, and it just disappeared off the screen. Yikes. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Especially on shipping out goods procured in the UK versus to trying to buy in the EU and keep the shipping local. That's several questions in one, isn't
it? So buying in the UK and then shipping out to, I'll use Ireland as the example. So it depends, really.
You'd have to pay local VAT in the EU, and you wouldn't be able to claim it back. Whereas if you bought it in the UK, you'd pay VAT, but you'd claim it back, possibly.
But there'd be duty paid as well to get it out of the UK, wouldn't there?
Yes, true. Or into the EU.
Yeah.
It's tariff free at the moment, but
it's a bit confusing. I'll get back to you.
Ask an expert.
I will point out though, because it's appropriate for some of our customers, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
Andy, if I may suggest, we take this offline, and perhaps we could answer that question in an e-newsletter at some point soon, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
Reply would be useful, and it's. I'm really happy that we're getting questions from the floor, and please don't hold it against us if we can't answer them all. But as I'm sure has come across from both the presentations we have, it's not much clearer than mud in many circumstances, and the companies are scrabbling around a way to carry on trading in some manageable and meaningful way. We have another question here, and this is from Phil. price. Are you investigating the proposed UK CA mark and the possible implications for manufacturers in Europe? So I'll just frame that question briefly so you can both think about your answers. This is the CE mark that we've all known and loved that's part of the Construction Products Directive and from Europe, where you have your product either sent to a notified body for certification, or in certain circumstances you can self-certify and we get a CE mark. The UK is no longer part of that system, and we're having our own UK CA mark, and products after a certain point in time will have to carry both marks. So if they're already CE marked, they will have to have a UK CA mark as well to be sold in the UK. That's my understanding of the situation. And this is across all industries and all products. So now we come to the question, what do you think?
We're having to investigate it, obviously being a manufacturer, importing into the UK. We're, as far as I'm aware now, an update to what I said in my presentation, actually, it doesn't become law until 2023, as far as I know. But obviously we're having to investigate that at the moment, and there's a team back at NEXO doing that. I have to say, trying to find the information is pretty interesting.
Right.
Has no implications for me. So
no.
Well, me and Audiologic.
What is that, Andy?
We're not a manufacturer, so my understanding is that
all the manufacturers that import to you will have to have
to do that. Not us.
Yeah.
Sure. But it must be slightly concerning, Andy, that maybe the gene pool of the products that you're able to distribute may shrink.
Oh, absolutely. And especially, as I understand it, again, at the beginning, the UK CA mark standards will be the same as the CE standards. So the standards will run parallel for a period of time. But maybe in the future, who knows, the UK might decide to have different standards to the EU. Imagine that. We'll have to go through, I'm old enough to remember when the CE mark was first introduced, and testing houses were making money hand over fist testing products. And maybe we have to go through that again.
Well, I was thinking about it in the context of voice alarm and the notified bodies effectively giving the CE marking through EN 54 for products. And of course, we all know that those test houses, did quite well out of our industry at that point in time, back in 2013, between 2008 and 2013. And I would be interested to know from any of the voice alarm manufacturers sitting in the audience is if they're managing to negotiate having their marking changed with the test house that they've used, or if it's going to be a real awful situation that they're going to have to go pay to get the new mark, even if it's an administrative fee. I'm just wondering, if anyone's got anything on that, because obviously that would be the area of our industry where it could be potentially a large impact situation. I see Tony Stacey saying, "Why did we exit?" Well, that's very philosophical, Tony. It's a very good question. I think we're not supposed to get political, are we? Because I'm sure our membership makes up all kinds of political spectrum, but I'm sure there are many.
Do you want to answer that, Andy?
Yeah, no, I better not. I'd like to keep my job. So
it's no need for apologies, Tony. It was possibly just the hive mind coming out through your keyboard. Because obviously this is an interesting situation we face. Are there any more questions from the floor? This is going to be your last chance because the time is virtually up. No? Okay. Well, what I'm going to do then I'd like to ask everybody to say a huge... Oh, hang on, one more. No. Hi, all. From Baldwin Boxall's perspective, we're working with the FIA, who are lobbying the government. Nick, this is really good intel. Thank you. On members' behalf, to allow the EU-based test houses, and we're also working with your test house. Well, good luck with that, Nick. I hope that that is not going to come with a hefty price tag. Things are difficult enough at the moment for everybody. Appreciate that input. So now I'd like to officially, on behalf of everybody who's attended this meeting, which I understand was really a lot of people, just shy of 100, thank you, Andy Simmons. Thank you, Andy Lewis. It's been really informative, very useful, and of interest to obviously most of the people that joined the call. I need to wrap up this Members' Day by thanking everyone who's bothered to attend any of the 3 sessions that we've had. Really appreciate that. Glad to say the AGM was pretty successful. Positive voting left, right and centre. So thank you all of the members that turned out for that. We need to thank EMCD for running all of the background stuff that allowed us to go live and then go unlive and do polling and voting and all sorts of chatting and everything. Thank you so much for your support. I need to also thank Colleen for really ably doing the curating of the questions. The question just came up from Honey, are we going to be able to see these videos? Yes, absolutely. They're going onto the Institute's YouTube channel. So if you missed anything earlier in the day, you can play catch up, but don't try and ask any questions because that won't work anymore. And the other thing to say is a big thank you to Ros and Phil, who have really done so much work to put today together on behalf of all of our membership. And so we are just, if you didn't get to the first meeting, ISCVE, our get together will be in March 22. A decision with council was taken that we would skip this year to give everyone a breather, recognise not everyone's ready to come rushing out the starting blocks and get back into real life. We'll give everyone a break, let everybody's businesses catch up, settle, and then we'll come back in March at Coombe Abbey. The dates will be on the presentation. I can't remember them off the top of my head, if I'm honest. And obviously, I'm so looking forward to seeing everybody in person. It's been far too long. 22nd, 23rd of March. Thank you, Rose. Okay. And so with that, thank you again, Andy. Thank you again, other Andy. This is a virtual, quiet round of applause because otherwise I'm going to deafen you because my mic's just here. And with that, I declare Members' Day 2021 officially closed. Thank you.